Hello, everyone. Thank you all for being here. I really appreciate the foundations that you laid for our time together today. Thank you again, Christian. I'm just going to ask for some assistance to advance my slides, as I'm not able to view the presentation right now, but we should be on the title slide now. Today I'll be focusing on, as Christian mentioned, the importance of local and Indigenous knowledge for urban biocultural stewardship. And I really want to highlight the potential that this has to elevate our urban and community forestry programming. Getting started here, I want to acknowledge that as a first-generation settler colonist in illegally occupied Hawaii, I recognize that the awkwardness of me presenting about the value of Indigenous knowledge. You really don't need me to understand that. Indigenous scholars, community leaders, and activists have articulated and illustrated that point really clearly, but I feel like I need to lean into that space and lean into the awkwardness, because not talking about the importance of these things is even more awkward. In my own profession and in my agency, I feel like I'm holding space and welcoming the space for these ideas to become more rooted so that our relationships can grow and shift, and that other ways of seeing and being can become more institutionalized. So in this photo, you should be seeing a picture of our Urban and Community Forestry Advisory Council. This was at one of our quarterly meetings last year. This one was hosted by Dr. Manulani Meyer, who you see on the left. She's a Hawaiian epistemologist, and one of her passions is what she calls cultural landscaping. She describes it as creating authentic and loving relationships with earth, sky, and water through rehabilitation practices that help to orient us back to moon and star knowledge. She asks, why not plant trees that our birds recognize, use, and sing about? Why not plant food? So through her Indigenous lens, urban forestry, agroforestry, native habitat restoration, and cultural revitalization are integrated endeavors. So keep that in mind as I go along. Next slide, please. I want to define a couple important concepts for our time together today. The first is Indigenous and local knowledge, which is a system, a cultural complex that encompasses understanding, skills, and philosophies. These are developed by societies over long interactions with their natural surroundings. And it's a whole way of life, a whole worldview that informs daily living and how people interact with each other and their resources. So these are important not only for communities that hold this skill set and knowledge set, it's important for all of us, because within these knowledge systems, these unique knowledge systems are facets of our diversity in the world, and also a foundation for and a model of sustainable development. Next slide, please. A second key concept for today is urban biocultural stewardship, which is a system of care that understands cultural resources as equal to natural resources. It views the stewardship of place as inseparable from the stewardship of people. It's something that's scalable from individual species all the way up to land and seascapes, but at each level it also includes caring for people's spiritual, emotional, and psychological well-being. Slide, please. So around the world, local and Indigenous knowledge are fundamental to the planning and care of biocultural systems that support us, including in urban spaces. What you see here on these photos are just a few examples from a newly published book that highlights examples from around the world. It includes a chapter on our Hawaii-New York exchange, which Lindsay will describe later. But the point I want to make here is that these local and Indigenous communities are shaping and caring for nature in ways that call into question the dominance of Western values of urban nature, conservation, and resource management. Raising important questions: who has access to nature? Who gets to shape nature and be in relationship with nature? And I think it's really important for us to think about what this means for how we tend the forests in areas where we live. How? why, where, and for whom. The disruptions of today that we're all experiencing related to the unmasking of injustices are really opening a chance for fundamental change, a change that is going to require more inclusivity and being open to new kinds of relationships and more ways of knowing, being, and doing. Next slide, please. In our world of urban and community forestry, our conversations have gone so far beyond the value of tree for beautification or something that's a nice to do. We are become quite focused and good at articulating the importance of trees and helping people to see that this is an air conditioner, an air purifier, a stormwater runoff reducer, and a carbon sequesterer. These true and powerful messages, but through the lens of Indigenous and local knowledge, what if we also see that this tree is an ancestor, a keeper of memories and stories, a tie to our past and a hope to our future? What if we bring that lens to our work? How might it shift what we do and how we do it? Next slide, please. So I'd like to share some examples of how Indigenous knowledge is inspiring my own work in urban and community forestry. The most profound is with Hālau, which is a unique professional development stewardship training program for resource managers started on Hawai'i Island and is spread throughout Hawaii and is now available globally. It was created and is led by Kekuhi Keali'i Kanaka Ole Kaililani, and it's based on a framework that's rooted in Hawaii lifeways, our rituals, stories, and ways of knowing. This training has really enhanced our work and our lives through improving our relationships to our places, our communities, and ourselves. And personally, this training has been critical for my preparation to be the urban and community forestry coordinator for Hawaii. I feel that. But what's important is that these teachings are not only relevant for Hawaii, they're universal. However, we really have yet to realize the full potential of these kinship-based, place-based stewardship models across the urban to rural gradient. However, I think we're starting to understand this more. Next slide, please. Another example about how Indigenous knowledge is inspiring my work in urban and community forestry is this concept of the kipuka. So in Hawaii, a kipuka is, here you see a classic example. It's a variation or change in form, especially a clear place or oasis within a lava bed where there may be vegetation. Next slide, please. We define an urban biocultural kipuka as a green oasis within the built environment where community and culturally based knowledge and practices flourish and reciprocal relationships are engaged. And we envision a future where these kipuka become numerous across our landscape, spreading out and eventually connecting to each other so that our resilience and health are affirmed and strengthened. Next slide, please. So I've only had a little time to share today, but if you would like to learn more, please seek out this open source article in Ecology and Society that's freely available, or a chapter of the entire book here, Urban Nature, that just came out last month, or please reach out to me directly. Last slide, please. My contact information is there. I want to express my gratitude for my co-authors. The work that I shared today was based on collaboration with Kekuhi Keali'i Kanaka Ole o Kaililani, Christian Jardina, and Kainana Francisco, all in Hawaii, Lindsay, Campbell, and Erika Svendsen in New York City. And I also want to thank my thought partners who are inspiring the growth of these ideas here in Hawaii as well, Manulani Meyer, Nigel Rosette, Kamoela Enos, and Kielo Mossman. Thank you.